Can we talk about the Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, and which character do you find most fascinating? Ones that kind of you meet in your own mind, that you almost have conversations with, or as an influence on you and your life in general,
It's a great. You know what character I like? Because I know
good or bad? Sorry.
no one ever gives this answer, but this is my just aesthetically. You know how sometimes you're drawn to a character, and it's if this person were real, you think they're just hard, but there's something about that resonates with you. I can't even explain this, but I love the character in Atlas Shrugged of Lillian Riordan, who's Hank Rearden's wife.
Mhm.
And what is amazing about her, she's his wife. He's this big industrialist, innovator, and she's this like former beauty in that, but she's so cold and soulless that there's I mean, I joke about, Ayn Rand's vampire novels. That character is as close to a literal vampire as you're going to see in Rand. And there's just this great scene where Hank Rearden invents Rearden metal. It's this great metal which is extremely strong but extremely it's like light, so this creates all these innovations. And he brings her a bracelet made of the first Rearden metal. This is his life goal. This is like Prometheus bringing fire. And she's like, what the fuck is this?
Could have brought me diamonds.
Yeah, you could have brought me diamonds. What is this shit? And Dagny, who's another industrialist, she's a heroine, a very strong female character in Atlas Shrugged, is at a party. And she goes, I got diamonds. Let's trade. And Lillian's like, you want this? And she's like, yes, because that's the concretization of the human mind. These are rocks. And Lillian's like, okay, whatever. And that character is someone who has a lot of resonance in our culture. This kind of soulless. It's easy to write a soulless male figure like Peter Keating in some ways is soulless, but that for some reason when it's like the soulless female, it seems that much more chilling and effective. Do you not agree though that Lillian Riordan is an amazingly very powerful figure?
Powerful figure. I think Riordan is too. Oh, sure. And what I love about Riordan is his evolution, right? He's so flawed. He's a hero who's completely flawed. And it drives me nuts when people say her characters are cartoonish, they never change, there's no emotion. Really? Did you read the same book I did? Because if you take Riordan and he's struggling and he's trying to deal with Lillian and his family and all this stuff, and we know family members like this, right? I mean, who are leeches and parasites, but he's excusing them because that's what he's supposed to do. And then as he evolves to fully realize what's going on, that evolution is difficult. It's hard. Like the scene after he has sex with Dagny, of course, he gives a speech, but the speech is it's such a good speech in terms of conveying his mind-body split, right? He thinks he really had fun. He really enjoyed the sex, right? But he thinks it's animalistic, and he thinks it's a sign of his depravity, and he thinks, and here he is, this woman he loves, and he adores her, and he can't connect the two. He can't connect the sex with the love. He can't connect the sex with adoration, and with the values. So her characters are anything I think but cardboard characters, because I think Dagny and the scenes where she's listening to music and gets captured by the music and the way Rand describes that, I think it's just beautiful. Or the scene, my favorite scene in Atlas is the scene where they're crossing, where they're taking the first train ride across the John Galt Bridge.
Act 1.
And they're in the engine room and it's traveling through. And the way she's describing Dagny, it's almost like Dagny's having sex with the machine, right? Mm-hmm. It's so powerful emotionally, their success, the fact that they did it. Everybody told them it was impossible, and the train is going really fast, and that whole, it's got a sexual vibe to it. It's all about passion. It's all about success. And it's all about the success of their minds, and nobody else matters. Right?
What's really great about that scene, just in terms of construct the novel, I'm not going to spoil anything. So the Atlas Shrugged has 3 acts, like 3-act structure is not uncommon. And the first act is about Hank Rearden, overcoming all this adversity at home, in his personal life, and in his business to create this great achievement. So Rand really makes the reader invested in this character and his accomplishments. He's unambiguously doing something good. There's no downside here. He's making it easy to transport people, transport food. This is really just great. And it's just, once you read it and you look back, you're like, she does such a masterful job of making, you have to be a fan of this person and root for them, because she's like, oh, you think things are going great, he's overcome? hold on a minute. And then the rest of it, she's just and your sense of injustice is triggered as a reader to such an nth degree because you saw what he went through to get to this point, and now you're seeing it taken away people inferior to him. And one of the quotes on Twitter I use all the time is, I'll see someone, politician or a bureaucrat or a thinker, just advocate for something completely unconscionable, and I'll just quote it and say, my favorite criticism of Ayn Rand is that they say her villains are too evil and unrealistic, because the things that people posit with a straight face are so much worse than she has in her book.
And not just politicians. You find intellectuals today.
Oh, of course.
Way over the top. You know, even when I read Atlas Shrugged, that was good. Nobody really talks like this. No, they do.
Let me give you one example. There was a story she wrote, which she never published. They published her journals, the Ayn Rand Institute. And there was one character, and this was a prototype of Ellsworth II. He was the villain of one of the villains of the Fountainhead. And basically, the kid had like deformed legs or broke his legs or something like that. And he wants to get leg braces. And the dad is like, "Oh, we're not going to do that. Why should you be better than anyone else? Like, you should just have like this deformity.
Your fate.
Accept your fate." And you're reading this, I'm like, what dad is not going to give his kid leg braces? It's ridiculous. But now it's not uncommon for deaf children to not get cochlear implants and not be able to hear because their parents say, well, we're going to lose deaf culture. Hearing is just information. And you're sitting there, and whether you agree with this or not, this is very close to what she was saying. And when I read what she was saying, I'm like, okay, crazy Ayn Rand, this is not a thing. And then it's like, the craziness is that it's not braces, it's hearing.
And what evil to deny your kid hearing. I mean, God. So
here's the other thing. If you want deaf culture, which I would believe is a thing, sign language, whatever, they could turn it off. Yeah. If you want, you give them the choice.
Yeah.
Tonight, I'm sorry, one more thing. Rand used the word evil frequently. And I think maybe I can make the argument she used it too loosely. If you are denying a child the gift of music, I will say that's evil.
I agree completely.
Unambiguously.
Yep.
Go online and watch videos of people getting hearing aids and being able to hear for the first
time.
What
happens to their faces.
I promise you will cry. Because there's no pure, I'm getting teared up right now. Yeah. There's no pure expression of humanity and technology at its best than seeing a 2-year-old or 1.5-year-old who can't even talk, and then you see their reaction when they hear mom's voice. It's so beautiful and moving.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a few things that's moving. It's one of the ways to rethink technology, perhaps.
And there's this really funny because sometimes it'll be this tough dude, right? And he's been deaf all his life, and then they put hearing, and the girlfriend's like, "Can you hear me?" And he's trying to be tough for 3 seconds, and he just loses. And you just sit there. It's just this.
No, absolutely, and that's true of any sense. I mean,
like colorblind people seeing color for the first time, that kind of thing. I think there's a few.
It's not quite the same, but it's somewhat. But if you're blind and suddenly can see, I mean, it's just stunning. Right. Yeah. I mean, and how do we form our concepts? How do we think? We get information from reality, right? We interact with reality through our senses, and that's how we become conceptual beings. And you deny an element of that from a human being. That is horrible.
There's a potential with that with Neuralink too. So further developments there.